everyone. Welcome to the Marketing Drip, where we drip tips to scale your business digitally. Abby here, and the topic today is about standing out against competition online through reviews. I talked with Laneri, the Director of Business Development of Swell, and he focuses on dental growth initiatives for Swell, ranging from strategic partnerships, integrations, and continuing education. He brings a decade of experience in practice education and patient communication softwares. And I've personally worked with Danny for years now, and I'm just really excited for this episode because he breaks down the power of reviews and how to respond to negative reviews with the 3 A's and why automations and online presence is so powerful. So let's go ahead and begin today's drip, provided by Digital Resource, a full-service digital marketing agency that is your resource for everything digital. Hey, Danny, thank you so much for joining us today and dripping some knowledge on us. I'm just going to go ahead and just hit you hard with the big one. Why are online reviews so important?
That's a big question.
I know.
And,
start big,
reviews,
right?
yeah. I mean, there are so many different aspects we could discuss here, but I think essentially reviews help customers and patients make purchasing decisions or decide on which practices that they would like to visit with. So when we think about reviews and the fact that we have a very quick way to get an idea about people's experiences and how well they trust these businesses and practices, and just to help them feel less risk in selecting a business or a practice through online reviews. Now, the flip side of that is I think there was a stat, it's like 48% of patients won't even look at a practice or a business twice that has lower than 4 stars. So There's the social proof aspect and the fact that reviews have replaced the friends and family member referral in some sense, because now with a simple search on their mobile device, they can find hundreds of responses from patrons or patients of that practice or business. But then there's also the fact that reviews are heavily weighted in local search rankings. So Google right now is king. 90% of searches take place on Google. And the majority of that is just if a practice or a business is getting fresh and recent reviews, they're actually ranking higher than someone with very few reviews, a low star rating, etc. Because the searcher is Google's customer, and Google wants to place their customer with very perfect matches, i.e. highly rated businesses and practices that are receiving fresh and recent reviews, and they're responding to those reviews as well and showing lifeblood in their business. So there's a whole element and many other angles to reviews and the psyche that we could talk about, but online reviews are just incredibly important. And that importance is ever growing.
I love that you say it that way too, how there's so many different facets, because it's true. It's now all the credibility is reliant on Google. And of course, word of mouth is just as important, but people are just naturally going to Google specifically and making sure that they're advocating for these businesses and making it easy for them to do that is always huge. But I always like to tell people, like, what's the first thing you do when you hear about a recommendation? Like, you have the word of mouth, and they're like, Google. And it's like, yeah, exactly. You go to Google. Yep. That's exactly what everybody's doing to build that authority, whether they're leaving reviews or reading reviews. It is just that extra layer of validation and authority. And to your very point, when it comes to search engine optimization and making sure that you're ranking on Google, Google's going to look for the best credit, which is your reviews. So by showing that you have that, you're alive, you're a legitimate business, that people are active and they're engaging not only on social media, but with reviews, that's only going to help your ranking. So it's not just important for the way you look, but also the frequency of those reviews being left for your business. Very, very important.
Absolutely.
And we've always used Swell. You guys have been a partner of ours forever. And you guys are, because you're the best, I'm like, plug, there it goes. But you guys really are. You're able for our customers to get the fastest Google reviews and the most at a less time, but they're quality reviews as well. So explain to people how Swell works, like how it's different in that way.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I think there's been a a trend in the last 10 years toward automating, right? We want to automate everything and just essentially offload some of the manual aspect of either a manual review send or having to ask them verbally, or formerly businesses were handing little postcards out saying, hey, here, would you go and search us online and leave us an online review, and here are all the steps, right? So automation is there, and there are thousands of companies offering automations in different capacities. But in the review space, Swell said, okay, we're in this world where there's a lot of competition, but there aren't a lot of results. So that means that not all systems are created equally. So essentially, if we could find a way to be highly effective at getting patients or business patrons to receive a message and then actually do something about it, what would that require? And that's when Swell was built, right? So it's essentially saying, if you can send a highly personalized, branded message sent at the right time and make that easy for the business or the practice and easy for the individual who's receiving that message, then people will probably do something about it. The business gets results and the patients are like, oh, that was a great experience. And it's this branded, personalized message. It's a little sexier than a 5-digit short code with a link that looks robotic and spammy. And so that was the initial way that Swell came in and said, we're going to plug in next to existing systems and just focus on review generation. And then also the aspect of responding and making it easy to track. Most systems, after these review invites go out, it just goes off into the abyss. You don't know who's clicking them, who's opening in them, if they're landing on Google or Facebook or Yelp or Healthgrades and actually leaving reviews. But Swell closed that loop as well. So they said, let's make it branded, personalized, and easy on the front end. But then the back end is you can respond directly to reviews. If you've sent 50 review invitations out and 45 of them are stuck in a clicked and open status, why not, based on that status, send them a very specific follow-up message and collect an additional 15 to 20%. So just little thoughtful considerations like that is why Swell is able to generate results and stand out against the many, many other systems that exist as we've trended toward automation in the last 10 years. But now I think personalized automation is more important than ever.
Yeah. Makes total sense because, like you said, it's not coming from a stranger. It feels like, oh, it's actually the doctor or the business owner requesting it from me, and it's easy to do it. Why not? Versus just having to go to Google, having to look it up. It's making sure that it's as easy as possible because people get distracted. We're busy people. And if you're not making it easy, if you're not staying in front of us, if you don't have it look personalized, because now spam is definitely more apparent in text messages too. So it's making sure it's like, oh yeah, I'll help this person out, because everybody wants to help somebody out. You just got to make the ask and make it easy for them to do it, which is always crucial.
Yeah. Yep,
but you guys
definitely.
it's the best results that we've seen. It's pretty, I always tell people, like, I can't explain why it works, but I know it does. So just take my word for it. It helps with the Google reviews. And, we even have a practice that's right outside of Nashville over in Hermitage, Tennessee, that exceeded 1,000 reviews. And it was just in a short amount of time. And they were trying for that for years. And within 6 months, they were able to achieve it. So it's pretty cool to just go after it. But automation is very the main purpose of it. And I do know some practices and some systems out there that exist that still want to manually send it. How is automation results wise really drive those results, I guess, in a sense?
Yeah, well, I think I'll say I do prefer automation, and I'll speak to why that is, but there's also the manual side, and we actually have lots of practices and businesses that have a lot of success with manual sends. They're essentially but it's, to me, it's unnecessary time where they're taking a CSV of their daily appointments and they're uploading that and then submitting that out, and having many of them are doing that manually because they're unable to integrate with their specific practice management software or CRM. But the automation side is really, it's a numbers game. So the manual
Okay.
side, they can see results and they're typically more selective about who they're sending their messages out to and thinking, oh, well, there's a chance that person might complain or this and that. But there are a lot of our most successful practices that they just say, look, the majority of our patients or business patrons are happy. We're going to message everyone. And if a negative review comes through, that's not the end of the world. We're just going to respond to it and bury it with more positive reviews. The automation side
That's right.
allows just for the numbers game. We see higher sheer number volume of reviews with automation, but at the same time, there are manual users who are having a lot of success. It's just, I hope at some point they're able to leverage the peace of mind of the automation, because Swell essentially came in and said, the practice or business should not work for Swell. It should be the other way around. You should be able to put your hands up
Oh,
and let it drive, right? You've been wasting
yep.
time asking, worrying, bonusing, all these incentives around review generation. How about you just pay us a couple $100 a month and just watch what happens? And then, you can sit there at 6 p.m. on our mobile device and respond through to your reviews. But other than that, just, let us drive where we drive and you focus on what's most valuable, which is treating patients or, running your business. Right. So, yeah.
Yeah. Being more efficient with your time. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. You give me a list and I have to like manually text everybody something and hope they write a review, and it's got to be the certain time and that they're available to do it. And now I just wasted all this time and didn't even get the results. Where that's a great, I love that you say that though. Put the time into responding to reviews instead and let the
Mhm.
automation do its work. That that's always a concern people have, right? And valid that, oh my, I don't want a bad review. That's scary. I don't want to hear what, that's great feedback for one. And also it shows you're human. Like, yeah, you don't want all of your reviews to be bad reviews, but in order to bury them, you have to keep generating and be consistent with the amount of reviews that you're getting. But would you agree? Like, don't be afraid of bad reviews. That it's going to happen. You're human. And if anything, responding the way you respond back is the way that's actually going to reflect you, where the negative response might actually be more of a reflection on the person instead of the business as well. So you've just got to think of those other elements that are at play, not to be scared of that
Yep.
instead of just being
Absolutely.
efficient and generating.
We've,
Because I'm
we've,
sure you hear that a lot.
yeah, yeah,
Negative.
no, we
Yeah.
do. And, to that point, we built a safeguard into that to where you can block individuals from receiving a message and, do that through automation as well. Just write pound DND into the notes in several practice management software, so they'll be blocked. But I love bringing up an example of, there's a practice in North Carolina, Mint Hill Family Dentistry, that has over 2,000 reviews, and they've been on Swell for a
Wow.
couple years now. But if you click on their lowest, they actually have received quite a few negative reviews, but their average star
Mhm.
rating is 4.9. They have incredibly well thought out responses to each one of those negative reviews. They use the 3 A's of customer service: acknowledge, apologize, amend. And you can see that in all of
Oh,
their
I love that.
responses. And, it's authentic. And with over 1,800, 1,900 positive reviews, and maybe let's call it 100 in the 1 to 4 star range. I'm not saying they're all 1 stars, but they're soaring, and there are no problems. But they took the mentality of, let's message everyone and give them the opportunity to give us good, honest feedback, and we'll show the public we care with our responses. And they're seeing phenomenal results with patient acquisition and just general social proof.
That's a great example. And it's, yeah, I like a 4.9 when I'm looking at any business, right? Like,
Yeah.
I like to see there's some error, because otherwise, if it's all 5 stars and there's that many reviews, it's like, all right, are these fake? Like, is this real reviews that are being had, or are these bots, So
Yep.
that's always, I wouldn't be scared of that. That being said, too, I mean, 2,000 reviews along with being with you guys for a few years. what is pretty standard as far as result? I know you guys have businesses and people all over the map, but
Yeah.
what is pretty typical for results that they see, and how quickly do you usually see those types of results?
Yeah, I would say that's a tough one to answer, but I can break this down a little
Yeah.
bit. Number one, if you are seeing patients and we're integrated into a practice management software, that's typically handled, our onboarding is handled in a 30 to 45 minute phone call. And so long as you're seeing patients or you have a patient flow, or if it's a different type of business, if people are coming into the business and you're transacting, we can typically see results immediately. Let's call it week one, you're starting to see a trickle. There may be an initial, if you're shifting out of never asking your patients for feedback, never text messaging them, things like that, there can be a little bit of a learning curve, but it's typically like here, I'll give you an example. A friend of mine in Fort Worth, you probably even know him, Dr. Chad Duplantis. Um, he,
Yeah.
he had, he had 10 reviews on Google 18 months ago, and we plugged Swell in, and now 18 months later, he's at let's call it 550. I haven't checked his GMB for a moment, but I remember the first week he was texting me like every
Oh
day
my
going,
gosh.
7 new reviews, 10 new reviews, just, he was like over the moon, but his
Oh,
patients took a really quick liking to the system. They were like, oh, wow, we love these cute little branded messages. It's a one-click step, and they were
and
following through, right? But then there are other practices where they've maybe tried 3 or 4 different systems. Their patients were used to getting these robotic 5-digit short code, unpersonalized messages, and now it's taking a minute to, when they're actually seeing a face of the provider or the team, there's an adoption curve, right? And they see a
mm,
little bit of a slower uptick, but then kind of as they make little adjustments and shifts with how they're sending their messaging and when they eventually get it fine-tuned and figure it out. And that's a month or two down the road, right? But in any case, you're
yeah.
not waiting around months and months and months. This system either works or it doesn't. And we win most of the times, and in certain occasions we can't get patient bases to respond, and that's a rarity, but it does happen. And I prefer authenticity as well. Is like, we don't win them
Yeah.
all, but in most cases this is literally just a no-brainer. Plug it in and let it do its thing. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Those are amazing results. And I love the adoption curve to make sure that, there might be some time for you to have, but make sure your patients also know to expect it, or your customers, whoever that may be, like, hey, you're going to be receiving a text later today. We'd really appreciate it if you could leave a review for us, and we'd love that feedback. Then they're looking for it. We always also like to add, like, is that okay? And they always say yes, right? And then you're getting them to verbally commit to leaving a review. Therefore, they're going to be looking for it. They're going to be watching for it. And that just helps with the results as well. If they haven't done it yet, if they haven't been asking for those reviews, it could be this like, oh, interesting. But they're so used to so many businesses making that ask. Sometimes you get pushback from the front or from different team members of like, oh, it's awkward. It's only awkward because it's the beginning for you. But once you start doing it, it won't be awkward at all. And I promise you, when it comes to the people receiving or being asked that, they're not going to think that's weird at all, because they're so used to being
Yep.
asked that. It's actually nice to be
Yeah.
asked, right?
Yeah. It is
Also
nice.
receive it from there. To drive the numbers, that's all that matters, is to make sure that you're spreading the word. So building that presence online. What I know, we kind of talked about automations, but are there other opportunities that you find business owners just are missing out on that you would encourage them to look at
Yeah.
or do at their office?
Absolutely. So when we think about this from a shift in communication standpoint, right? We've come out of a day and age where, let's see, I believe, I don't want to misspeak here, but I think 2007, the first smartphone being the iPhone dropped, right? And now we have over 50% of the world's population are mobile internet users. And so when we think about what does that mean in terms of how can we appeal to patients or modernize our communication, everything has changed, right? We're now the phone on the iPhone or a smartphone is the 5th most utilized app. People aren't listening to voicemails. They're not leaving voicemails, and traditional ways of getting patients to communicate with you, things have changed, right? So when you ask, what can we do? It's number one, put up a great digital front, which is what we're speaking about, and something that you and your team are experts on, a whole different facet than just the review aspect and local search. But it's things, how are you going to connect with your patients and open up additional channels for them to reach you? So we're now, let's bring in social media, things like a web chat or a two-way text conversation where they can actually get with somebody and no, they don't want to pick up the phone and spend 8 to 10 minutes spelling their last name, verifying if you take their insurance, and only to find out that you're booked out for a couple months. But providing somebody the ability to text in, they find you online, they love your reviews, they land on your website, they put in a simple question like, do you take Delta Dental, right on a web chat, and then they're able to connect from their cell phone in a two-way text conversation. And when it comes time to actually book the appointment, they can click a link, schedule now, they can pay their bills electronically, punch in online forms from their mobile device instead of sitting in silence with a paper clipboard. There are just so many, there are so many aspects of this, but I think the two lowest hanging fruit in terms of standing out and converting would be reviews and web chat. Just that front, web chat and integrating social media inboxes like Facebook Messenger, Instagram Messenger, things like that. Just let people reach you where they are, not where you want them to funnel into, and I think people will be surprised how quickly they can acquire new business if they meet current communicators where they are.
I love that. And I love the idea of personalization is really key here. I think people always are afraid to put some of these digital presence online everywhere because they don't want to eliminate that personal factor, right? They're afraid that the phone call, the personal touches are going to be eliminated. But the thing is, that's what people want nowadays. And actually, you're able to be more personalized than ever because even though it's consistent and automated, it's still the same message, the same education, the same steps that you want them to take, but it's more consistent. And to your point, you can deliver every time. If you're not able to pick up the phone, or if that person, we're human, we're not going to say the same thing every single time. We're going to miss something. And having these automations complement us as humans only is going to make us more efficient and allow you to be more productive, but also help with your results and drive the profits that way too. So don't think that you're missing out on personalization by implementing these processes. You're actually able to increase it and provide the best experience possible. But I 100% agree with you. Having all the presence, getting the processes aligned, and kicking butt, taking names.
Yeah.
I love it.
Plug technology in and spend time actually building rapport with people in person or doing something that's more profitable for you or for the practice. But yeah, technology has a place. It's not there to replace the human element. I think it allows you to have the time to strengthen the human element. So, yeah.
Oh, that's the best way to put it. Yes, I 100% agree with you. Well, Danny, it's always so fun getting to hang out with you and pick your brain a little bit. So thank you so much for talking with me today. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I know you may make a note of this, but it was an honor to be on you when you started this podcast, and I'm happy I got to return some years later.
Yes, I'm so glad you said that. I hadn't said that yet. Danny was actually my first guest. I had a podcast previously, and he was my first guest on that one. And now this is going to be my last. I'm moving to Florida to be with the digital resource team, the headquarters. And this is my last episode I'm shooting in Nashville. So it's kind of crazy that it's come full circle. I think it shows how long we've worked together and how amazing it's been to just kind of be colleagues. And I'm so excited for everything that's what's to come, because I'm going to definitely have you back on the show because you're at my milestones, my monumental moments with Danny.
Yeah, I'll be back. Just call me. We'll talk, but good luck. Good luck.
We'll get
I'm
Creed
excited
on here
for you.
too. Yeah.
Yeah,
Of
for
course.
sure.
Well, thank you so much again for joining me today. And thank all of you for tuning in. If you want to learn more about generating reviews for your business, Digital Resource and Swell have a partnership and we'd be happy to assist you. So simply click the link provided to learn more about your online presence and how you can attract more business.